it will be hypocritical of me to not ask you this, which is obviously you are a proponent of the fire movement. You obviously talk a lot about fire, but here you are starting another company. Why so?
So, A, I, it would be wrong to say that, that fire is essentially like an endpoint. You achieve it and you are done. A lot of times I see fire as a solution to a problem. The problem being you don't like the sort of work that you are doing. So what do? You stop doing that job. Fire essentially exists as a last resort. More often than not, when you don't like the work, it's got less to do with the work, it's got more to do with the people that you're working with. And sometimes it's also to do with the work that you are doing. You should essentially try maybe changing your team, maybe changing the company that you're working in, maybe changing the field that you're working in. You should try all of that. And if everything else fails, then fire becomes the only option. So I worked as a math teacher for most of my life. But after I started the business grew. After the company got acquired, broadly, my work shifted more towards managing people, generating sales, generating revenue, the teaching element of it. So when I started my career, 95% of my responsibility was teaching and 5% was just managing other stuff. By the time I quit, maybe 5% of my responsibility was teaching and 95% of it was the other stuff. And I could, there was no way out for me to, change that and become a teacher completely. Because if I did that, the amount of money that I would make as a teacher is insignificant compared to the amount of money that you can make as an entrepreneur. Or, my last designation I was director of content sales at $1 billion company. So that is because I was a director of content sales. That's why I was making the amount of money that I was making. If I was just a teacher, I would be making 10%, 20% of that. So that was the reason, because I didn't really like the work, that I quit. And I had the option to quit. I had the money to quit. So that was in 2022. And beyond that, so around last year, and after that happened, a lot of people started contacting me and talking to me, okay, how do I also do it? And the solution, how do you also do it? Boss, you need to get lucky. There is very little things in your control. And then I started realizing that a bunch of these people are making some of the most basic financial mistakes, stuff that felt very, very obvious to me. One of the examples would be, I think it is obvious to most people that if you have a credit card, you get a credit card bill, you should pay that credit card bill in time. I used to believe everyone did that.
Or does it impacts your credit score?
It impacts your credit score, or if you pay the minimum balance, you have to pay a very high interest rate, 35% sort of an interest rate. I used to think, why would anyone be paying that 35% interest rate? And then I looked at the numbers. So SBI Cards is now a listed company. They put out the data. 56% of credit card holders are paying that high interest rate. Yeah. So
that's a really high number.
Yeah, more than half the people. So something that I felt like that, okay, 95%, I genuinely believe that 95% of the people will be paying their credit card bills on time.
You mean they're paying the portion of it and then leaving there for interest, is it?
So I think there are 3 categories that SBI Cards list out. One is the people who pay the bill in full. That is around 45 odd percent who pay the bill in full every month. Then there are 2 more categories that they have. One is the category who has an outstanding balance and they have converted it to an EMI. And that EMI is also at a significantly higher, something like an 18%, 16% sort of a rate. And those people are again around 25 to 30%. I'll share the exact data with you and you can perhaps put that as a screenshot. And then there are around 25% of people who are paying just the minimum balance, which is criminal. But if you can get a credit card, you can get a personal loan and pay that back. At least convert it to an EMI. But 25% of the people don't even do that. So it was shocking that the stuff that seems obvious to me, but it doesn't seem obvious to people. And there are bunch of similar mistakes that people keep on making. There is a large number of people whose PDS gets deducted and they file their taxes improperly, or they don't know how to file their taxes, and they don't get the. So what happens is your TDS get deducted. If you do a little bit of tax planning, you will get a refund from the income tax department. For that, you need to do two things: very little, very, very basic tax planning and filing the tax returns properly. I don't think that this stuff is going to take you more than 10 hours in a year. People don't even spend those 10 hours to get the money back from the income tax department. So there are so many inefficiencies which exist in the system just because people are lazy, people are unaware. And this is something that I realized when people started talking to me. So, and then once a lot of people started talking to me, it started becoming a problem. Okay, how do I talk to a large number of people? So, middle of last year, what I did was I created a custom GPT where I put all of this stuff so that you can talk to. So I call the custom GPT Handa Uncle, which is the name of my current company as well, where they can come and chat with a chatbot, which will essentially respond in the same way that perhaps I would. That became popular. And that is when I took a call that, okay, either let just this be a fun project and let it continue. And that's when a couple of my friends, my batchmates from college, Madhukar and Vikas, they got on board that they said, okay, fine, this is a big enough problem. People are using it. People are liking it. Can we potentially try and build a business out of it? So then I took a call that, okay, fine, let's try building this and see if there is some sort of solution that can be figured out. But the core idea as of today here is I really like doing this stuff. I am worried about the fact that maybe if I work on this for another 10 years, right now I really like it because it's the building phase, it's the creation phase. Every day something new I'm doing, something innovative I'm doing, I'm using my head. It's quite possible that 10 years down the line, if this business becomes a big business, I'll once again end up in a managerial sort of a role where I'm managing people and looking after Excel sheets and how the sales are growing and how the revenue is growing. So maybe 5 years, 10 years down the line, again, it'll become something that I'm not enjoying it anymore. And then perhaps I can think of a second retirement or, and again, my first business worked because I was lucky, because I was early. That does not really guarantee that this business is going to work. Maybe it fails in another 2 years, in another 1 year. Then I'll be back to the retirement mode. I'll be forced to it. I'll be either forced into it or the work will evolve and it will become boring at some point of time. And that's when I'll pull the plug again. But as of now, I'm having fun doing it. And that's the optionality that I have because I have the money, I have the resources, I have the time. And hopefully I have a little bit of understanding of the consumer market as well.